Hello.
Hello, and welcome to Pets Deserve It, the podcast where we say what your pet wishes they could. Here's how to make our lives better.
Episode 6, I believe.
Whoa.
Yeah.
For those of you who have hung in since the beginning, thank you.
Our first few episodes were really good. We had some very specific topics that we were talking about in episodes
1 through 5.
1 through 5, and really starting at the very basics of fear-free and how pet parents can best help their pet, how veterinary professionals can help their patients.
Mm-hmm.
But today, I think we're going to go down a little bit different route because we've been noticing some things in our own clinic.
Yes, this is a very special and important episode today.
So the title for this one is a little bit different and is titled, Is Fear-Free the Problem?
And the answer is sometimes yes. Well, the barrier at least.
Yeah.
The end. Thanks for tuning in. New episodes drop on the 1st of every month.
So today we're going to jump into discussing some things that we have realized in our own clinic that maybe are some barriers for pet parents to fear-free, because we do have a decent number of clients refusing medications, declining to come back, declining to want to participate in, well, really their pet's care.
And we don't really always know why that we get these record requests for clients to leave, or we just see they've gone somewhere else. And so we've really been trying these past couple weeks to dig into the barriers and try to ask clients why and just figure out why and really think through what the problem could be, because fear-free has, in our minds, helped so many pets get care that wouldn't get care elsewhere, or would really be extremely stressed out somewhere else, and just really be able to get thorough care and care that prioritizes their mental health. That I feel like we're so deep in this bubble that then we're surprised when not everybody loves it as much as we do.
Yeah. And we always contact our clients when they do decide to go to a different clinic, and there's varying reasons that happens, and that's just a normal part of business. But sometimes trying to find the right questions to ask to try to figure out exactly why they might be leaving. So that's where we try to be very aware of that and sit down ourselves and try to think through, okay, what is something that they said? What is something that we're seeing? What is a trend? And so that we can start to ask these clients the right questions to try to figure out what the barriers are, because they may not even know themselves. It may just be, we're just tired of it.
Yeah. And asking the clients that are enjoying the journey as well to, what do you think some barriers for others could be? You know, we know you love it, but honestly, put yourself in someone else's shoes. What do you think? We've gotten some good answers that way as well.
Yeah. With the overall priority being the pet's mental health.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Always.
One of the things that comes to mind and has been shared with us is we live in a world, and now going into 2026, of everything is so fast-paced.
I ordered something last night and got it this morning.
I ordered something last night and it will be delivered today. I mean, it's just, right? Okay, one client said this Amazon mentality. So when we think about that, everything is so fast-paced. Then we get to the clinic, our clinic specifically, and we're asking everybody to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Slow down, take your time. It's going to take time. We ask our team members to slow down and take the time. We're asking clients to slow down, because if we're being honest, pets' mental health is so far behind the curve that we have to slow down. But we recognize that it's hard in an environment and just a natural culture of fast pace. Yeah. Again, with the Amazon deliveries, they get here same day sometimes.
Yeah.
And so we'll kind of talk through that more, but we thought that was very interesting and makes a lot of sense.
And that's an angle that we hadn't really considered. I mean, we had, of course, thought, and we'll talk about this more, that yes, sometimes maybe it takes too long, but really, too long, but really thinking through it that way with, yes, but everything else in our culture doesn't, it probably seems like it takes even longer.
Right. Yeah.
Because some of the clients that we've lost have been ones that we've built relationships and trust with and have been coming here for many years. And so it hurts when any client leaves, but it definitely hits different when it's one that we thought we had a good rapport with and that not even just that we thought that we did have a good rapport with, but has decided that they can't be on this journey anymore for some reason. And like you said, I'm sure sometimes they don't even really know exactly why. It's hard for them to articulate, or they do feel the trust and rapport and don't want to hurt our feelings.
And for those that don't know, we spend a lot of time and have spent a lot of time building up our brand that, believe it or not, is a little bit separate from Fear Free. And that's where the really, really trying to personalize the experience and build this relationship and trust with our clients comes from. So we really have put a lot of effort and time into that, as well as the clients. The clients have too. And so we just feel like we're in this place of what's going on,
what's happening,
and what do we need to do, and honestly, some of it comes back to what do other clinics need to do, because I have also been asked, what we wish other clinics prioritized, and that is that they would prioritize the pet's mental health more, so that when clients did leave here for whatever reason, fill in the blank of not liking something about Fear Free, when they go to the other clinic, they get the same experience. And that will happen, but it's still a few years down the road. So when we do have clients and we're trying to reach out to clients about what might be upsetting or what their feedback is, it's not helpful to just be told, well, I didn't like this, or the wait times are too long, or I'm just tired of Fear Free. Those comments aren't helpful because we're not really sure what to do with those or how to dissect them, because when we ask for feedback, we want to really dive into it and figure out what we can learn from it. There's always a lesson to be learned from something that clients say. Always. We know that. And so we value that feedback, and we don't always know what's going on sometimes if the clients don't give us the feedback. So we want the constructive feedback. We ask for it. We're very open, and we want to learn what the barriers are that clients have with Fear Free, as we will also go through these barriers that we have come up with on our own. Okay, so the first set of barriers is one that we have talked about before, but it's going to be about not wanting to give pets medications. And we've learned some interesting things when it comes to medications and maybe what the pet parent is willing to do and not willing to do.
Yes, one thing that we hear a lot is that after they get home, their pet is too sleepy. And no matter how much we educate them, I think it's still hard for them to see it in person, because we know, and we always try to educate that, for one thing, it's good for them to be sleepy because they're sleeping off some of that stress and adrenaline that they may have had during the appointment. Even if it's happy adrenaline, even if it's excitement, they're going to come home and need to sleep it off. So part of it is that as they are naturally sleepy, that's when their medications really seem to kick in. Even if they were working, it's just combining with that sort of natural come down of adrenaline to really make them go to sleep. And it helps get that stress out of their system. As we've talked about before, stress can stay in their system for up to 3 days, can cause lasting trauma. If you check out some of our old episodes, we kind of go into way more detail about that. But regardless of all of that, even the clients that are super on board with when we talk about that in the moment still get home and have a hard time seeing their pet like that. For us, it's so normal to see pets sleepy or sedated that it's very easy for us to tell, oh, this is normal, versus the rare times that it is a problem. But clients don't have that context, and they just are really having a hard time with it.
Yeah. We did have a client say that when they're on their pre-visits and they come home and they're sleepy, they notice that the breathing is shallower, and that just makes them more nervous. But one of the things that we're trying to do is, how can we relate this, pets' mental health, and what they're doing to people? And so one of the things about being too sleepy is, if this was your spouse or your sister or your brother and or your kid and came home after a stressful situation, we would all think, boy, I'm so glad they're getting some rest, and be so happy and not want to interrupt them or disturb them and just let them sleep it off and see you in the morning. But we don't feel comfortable doing that with our pets. And we're trying to tell you that we should be. We should be more comfortable allowing our pets that same rest and relaxation after a very stressful event. But I guess first we have to recognize that going to the vet is so stressful.
Yes. I think another barrier that kind of maybe goes along with being sleepy is that the dog and to a lesser extent cat doses are so different from human doses on some of the medications. Specifically, trazodone is the one that springs to mind as probably being the most different, combined with that being the one that makes them sleepy. I think it's very easy for clients to then get worried about that. If we take a trazodone, we'll take maybe one. Dogs can take 5 or 6. I'm not going to get into specific milligram dosages, but the number of pills and the milligram is a significant difference from what humans take.
Yeah.
And so I think then that creates a mental barrier and creates some stress, like after the appointment. Okay, well, I gave him 6 of these and I would have taken one, and now he's sleepy, and now I'm not really sure this is okay anymore, no matter what they said. One, how we're trying to get around this barrier, one big pillar is education and really coming at it from a different way, like Jessica said, to relate that more to people. Well, this is rest he really needed. He's finally getting some sleep, but also using more relatable medications. There are so many medications out there. We do not have to use trazodone, and we've actually taken a step back a little bit in some situations from trazodone because alprazolam or Xanax tends to be so much more relatable and accessible to clients to give to their pets. It doesn't last as long in the system. They don't get as sleepy. They're still going to have the adrenaline crash after and sleep quite hard, but they'll be a little bit more rousable, and it's just a little bit easier probably for them to see, as well as Xanax being very relatable, because if you're nervous to fly or go to the dentist, that's what your doctor's going to give you a benzo. And the dosing range is definitely different. It's a little bit closer though.
And then speaking of the medications, we understand that one of the barriers might be, we don't get a lot of complaints about this, but one of the barriers might be the fact that you have to come to the clinic and pick up those medications prior to having to come back for your appointment in a few days. If we know you're coming back every month or every couple weeks for one reason or another, we'll send those with the client. But we've definitely been thinking about different ways that we could get those medications to our clients. So again, that's a work in progress that we've been thinking about. And then, also when we think of meds, we do have sometimes clients say that we're forcing meds to make our job. And I think a very simple thing we would say to that is just an added benefit.
Yes.
It is about the pet's mental health, but yes, it does make for a safer working environment, absolutely. But it all does really come back to the pet's mental health.
Yes, it's easier because your pet is happier.
Right.
And also, what about any of this podcast or our YouTube videos or our Instagram reels makes you think that doing fear-free is easy?
That's not easy.
It's not easy. It is very easy to just scruff a cat and trim its nails.
In fact, we get comments from different areas of our life about, wouldn't it just be easier to not do any of this?
And the answer is yes. It would be easier.
Yes.
We wouldn't be as happy.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be as fulfilled. We wouldn't be living our mission. But our mission isn't to be easy.
Right.
But so easier, yeah, it probably would be easier. We're not going to do it, but
yeah. So we have also been thinking about different barriers that we might put on the clients themselves, right? Our experience is mostly about the pet, but we know there's a pet parent, of course, and we try to respect that and make things as comfortable here as possible. But we know that one of the barriers can be time. We talked about this super fast-paced culture that we're in, and going into 2026, things are getting faster, things are getting delivered faster. But we are trying to slow things down and deliver veterinary care.
And one thing that client said that the other clients may be thinking is, well, just get it done. I don't care. You're the vet. Just get it done. Just figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't want to come back.
Right. So then coming back, sometimes we have to have multiple visits. We get that. Clients work, can't always take time off. So that can be a barrier, although we do really try to address that and get around that. But sometimes you have to come back.
Or, even are getting around that in the moment. Okay, we can give meds here, we can sedate, any of those things. That takes more time than in the moment. And you may be here for a couple of hours versus 45 minutes.
Yeah. And so, a lot of this means we're not able to accomplish the goals that the client needs because we're not willing to just get it done.
Right.
Because it would be easy to just get it done, but we're putting the pet's mental health first as a priority, even above the client's time. And that's why we understand this is becoming a barrier for some clients. And we also wonder if there's just this sense of it's a lot of pressure on the pet parent, and maybe the pet parent feels like they can't live up to this fear-free expectation that we have set. Again, these are conversations that we want to have. We're just speculating at this point, probably. We're just speculating at this point. But we talk a lot about pet parents being shamed, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to like other clinics shaming them because their dog is bad and doesn't behave well at the vet. Well, that's not appropriate. But now we also don't want clients to feel shame that they can't live up to the expectation that we have set for whatever reason.
And that's just the culture of having a dog. I mean, no matter how much we don't shame, even those who have never been shamed by a previous vet, it's the whole dog culture. And we're going to get into cats in a minute, but this is specifically a dog thing. You see it everywhere, even if you don't realize it. Well, it's all in how you raise him. Well, it's all in how you raise the dog. It's all in how you train the dog. It's this and that, and it puts all of the pressure on you. And no, it is not. No matter what we're talking about, we're talking specifically about fear-free right now, but in many aspects of the dog's life, it's not about how you raise them or train them. It's their mental health. And so it goes back to what you said earlier about how far behind we are in pet mental health. And dogs are even more far behind than cats because we put so much pressure onto this image of dogs and pressure onto ourselves, and society puts pressure on us and the dog of like, well, no, your dog has to act perfect. It's man's best friend.
Right.
And, it's a reflection of how you raise them, and it's a reflection of how you trained them. And it's not always, it's nature and nurture. Some dogs are born anxious or had trauma before you got them that is not easy to fix or possible to ameliorate at all. So yeah, there's a big issue there with pressure coming from a lot of different places, I think.
And especially with this adult generation of dogs we have now that were COVID puppies.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's added an extra layer of mental health challenges for our pets and patients.
And then when all those COVID puppies that are breeding dogs breed, there's going to be some generational issues there as well. So that's going to be a problem for a while.
So the next barrier that we're going to talk about is actually the pet parent and veterinary professionals in some cases not understanding pets' mental health in general. So, we get a lot of, he's fine, he's just standing there. But what that translates to us is he's actually frozen in fear.
Mm-hmm.
He can't move. He's scared. But to the untrained eye, he's just standing there.
And go back to our body language episode, because we go into some of that. You can tell, if you have been trained to tell, the ones that are just kind of standing there hanging out because they're mellow, and the ones that are disassociating.
Yeah. Well, so let's take it back to humans, because this is what we're going to try. We're trying to relate the medications to humans and the different things that our pets are exhibiting. So if you have a person or a child or a spouse and they're just sitting there frozen in fear, we would probably automatically assume they are disassociating and that we should probably get them help.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with our patients. So this has been the hardest one, even for us. We also sometimes didn't always understand what it meant when they were just standing there, because they are standing there. They're accepting a vaccine, but they're not. So we can't confuse that with them actually accepting a vaccine through fear-free and cooperative care. They are scared, just like a person is scared, and they need their mental health addressed. But it is hard to understand from an untrained eye.
Especially combining that with the Amazon culture, because you could get it done. The dog isn't going to bite you.
Right.
Not at this visit. The dog isn't going to necessarily, they've tried running away and now you followed them, and so they're in the corner and they've just chosen to dissociate, so they're not really going to move anymore. Right. You could very easily get some things done, because some dogs have such a high threshold to be pushed to bite that they honestly probably aren't going to. But inside, they are escalating every single time and getting worse and worse and worse, and we don't want them to feel that way, even if they're not showing it.
So in that moment when we're just going to get it done, the client, and this is true, it just takes a second.
Mm-hmm.
It does. Giving a vaccine takes 5 seconds to push the vaccine into the dog.
And we can think our way out of that as a person. Yes, I don't like vaccines either, but I can think my way through, well, this only takes a second, and ouch, okay, it's over, and it doesn't cause lasting trauma because I can think my way out of that. The dog can't unless they...
And it benefits you.
And I know it benefits
yes.
me. The dog doesn't know that. And so while they can be trained to think their way out of it's just a second, you have to train that. And they don't know what benefits them. So you have to teach them that.
Just, all of this to say,
God,
I hope you're okay. Okay. All of this to say, imagine just being stressed and anxious without having the ability to talk and express that.
Or understand when someone else tells you it's just a second. Okay.
Yeah.
So both, really.
You don't have the ability to speak up.
Mm-mm.
And when you are communicating, we're not listening.
No, because that is a great point. They think they're speaking up and don't understand
about that.
Yeah. And they don't understand why we're not listening, which is why some dogs escalate, which in their mind is fair.
Yeah.
Because if you told your doctor to stop something that they could stop and they didn't, you probably would escalate.
Yeah. So then, we talk about vet visits feeling like alien abductions, and I know this is more talking about cats. So the other thing that we're thinking long and hard about of how to implement is we have, if you visit at Cat Doc Megan on Instagram, you will see the reel, but we have these decades of cats only leaving the house to go to the vet. That is it. That is why it is titled an alien abduction. Yes. They don't go outside. Rarely. 96% of the cat population does not go anywhere unless they're going to the vet.
Because even if they go outside, they're not being transported places.
And they're choosing to go outside.
Because even your indoor-outdoor cat has his territory. Most of them don't go on adventures in the crate or in the car.
Right. And to get a pup cup or a cat cup.
And so to them, it really feels like, if you think through what an alien abduction is, you're taken away out of your bed most of the time, right? Put in some kind of weird vehicle that they don't understand. They don't know what a car is. A dog knows kind of what a car is. A cat does not. Mm-hmm. Put in some weird vehicle that you never go in, taken to some place. It's got bright lights. It's got stainless steel tables. Not at Latah Creek Animal Hospital. We have a heating pad and a nice towel. But for the most part, right, still some kind of table. Or
dogs barking.
Dogs are barking. Not at Latah Creek Animal Hospital, but dogs are barking. It's weird. There's bright lights. People are talking to you. These people you've never seen before or you see very rarely are talking to you in a language you don't speak or understand. Mm-hmm. You're poked and prodded, and then you're taken home and your people act like nothing happened. Like, what?
Yeah.
The bleep just happened to me.
And then we repeat it 1 year later.
Yep. With some crusty, dusty carrier that's been out in the garage for a year that we dust the spiders off.
Yeah.
And so I can imagine why the cats get here already at overstimulated level 10.
Yeah. So we're going to work on a plan to try to encourage cat owners specifically to get their cats out to see the world.
Yes, follow along at cat.megan because I think one of my cats would enjoy this very much. And I'm going to start training him in the spring because I'm not going to spring this on him in the 24-degree cold. When he's a plush indoor boy.
Yeah.
But I'm going to start training him. And so follow along because he has not been outside and he has not been on adventures. So it's going to be very realistic to what you could go through with your own cat.
Yeah.
I didn't start him as a kitten. He's not one of those. He's 3 years old. We're going to actually do this the way you would.
Yeah. So let's talk about some specific cat barriers.
Other than that one, I think the biggest one is medication in a different way. I find cat owners, again, we are generalizing, but this is what we've seen. Cat owners, the cat culture is different. The cat culture is very much, you can see this all over the internet. He's his own little being. Mm-hmm. He has his own thoughts and feelings. So you can't really understand cats. You can. But
he just lives in my house.
He's my roommate. All of these funny reels and memes and things that you see really are indicative of the cat culture. The way the cat acts is not a reflection on how we trained them or raised them.
Because it's a cat.
That's
how they are.
Yeah, that's how they are. They have their own personalities, which is great. Cats are great at teaching consent, but we don't have that barrier with them of the shame of they're like, yeah, this is just how he acts. So the idea that he needs medication is not the barrier. How to administer that medication is, which is fair.
Yeah.
Because that is, listen, I'm on board. Doc, I tried, and he spit it out, or I got it in his mouth, but man, he hated the taste, and then he drooled and hissed and yowled for 30 minutes, and it was traumatizing. Or he just wouldn't take it. He tried to bite me because cats
scratched me.
Cats are better at defending themselves, and again, they're good at teaching consent. Let me see. There was one other thing. Hang on. Or, okay, it went well. It all went well. I got it, and then he mounted it back up. So it seems to be more of these kinds of barriers, which we are working on.
And we do hear that in the exam room. Like, we do hear clients telling us that in the exam room for the cats, and we're really constantly trying to think about how can we make the medications better? How can we make them taste better? We changed what the medications were in hopes that they tasted better. But most of this is compounded, and so it's artificial marshmallow, salmon, bacon flavored that is fake, but it's the best they can do. The clients that I think can give the tablets and sprinkle the content out of a capsule have better success, but we're constantly trying to figure out the best way to help the pet parent be able to medicate at home, because what we find is cat parents are willing to give the medications.
100%. It's
no matter what.
And cats being sleepy after, because cats do sleep so much more than dogs, doesn't seem to be such a stressful thing for a client to see. Right. Such a barrier for a client to see. And I have clients tell me that. That's not extrapolation.
Well, they always sleep.
Yeah, sleeps anyway. I'm not worried about it. Or just, again, because of cat culture and what cat videos we find funny, if your cat's a little bit drunk, I think most of the time it's cute and funny rather than, oh my God, whoa, I don't like that. So we're working on it. That's a hard one, like Jessica said, that's a hard one to actually fix, but we are constantly researching it and working on it.
And have some things that we're thinking about trying and have been trying on our own cats to
Once
see
again with
if
Jinx.
they'll work.
Jinx is my little guinea pig because he's such a sweet boy.
So one of the other areas that we think a lot about is how we are in the exam room, what we're projecting, are we causing pressure? There's lots of things over the last few years that we have changed for lots of reasons, because we're like, oh, we are the problem. We get it. We can be the problem sometimes. And so when we're in the exam room, there are things that we are going to continue to change, mostly when it comes to our dog patients. And one of the things right out of the gate is we have a lot of dog patients that are scared of the tools that we use. Mm-hmm. It can be scary. We're trying to teach puppies at a young age that the stethoscope and the syringe for the vaccines aren't scary. So we give those to you mostly as puppies, but also as adults if the pet parent wants to utilize those and help train their dog. But during check-in, our assistants are taking the TPR, so they're giving them the stethoscope. And while we try to introduce it very carefully to the patient, number one, it takes more time, and number two, it can be scary, and we may already be causing them stress before the doctor even gets in the room. So we have decided that we are not doing any of their TPRs prior to the doctor coming in, because we're just trying to be very mindful of the stress that we're causing.
And then another thing that we have now been doing for a couple years is realizing the social pressure of trying to get the dog to come over to you. Come on, Fluffy. Come on, Fluffy. Come in. Come on, Fluffy. Or they're like on the bench, off the bench, on the bench, off the bench. Or we're getting them. Come on with treats, trying to hurry them out. That's a lot of social pressure.
Hopefully we've gotten that.
I think we've worked through that. Now we've realized potentially we have gone too far the other way, and we're being a little creepy sometimes, for lack of a better word. Again, this is dogs. Cats like this slow, gentle. You don't want to go in all confident with a cat. You want to be confident,
but not too confident.
But not, because they don't like that.
Be more confident.
They want you to be confident, but slow and quiet, not hesitant, but gentle. Because in cat language, that's polite to sort of come slow and gentle. In dog language, it can be creepy. If for some dogs, and some dogs need this, so it's really about gauging the individual dog. But it can be creepy to come over with the trim. Okay, Fluffy, let's go. Exactly, and they look at you like that. And then the part two of that is realizing when we're doing that, and that look is not necessarily FAS that we should stop what we're doing.
Because that FAS is on our FAS scale.
It is. And on FAS scale, it would be a 3. And it is a 3. But is it a 3 because of your body language that you could change in a second, and then they'll immediately be fine when you go, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, come on, Fluffy, let's go over here. And they're like, okay, now you're being normal. Because some dogs want that sort of bubbly, confident way that you would lead them, and then some dogs do actually need more like a cat handling. It just depends.
Yeah.
But realizing that not all of them want the ASMR experience. Some of them want you to just be like, oh, come on, it's no big deal. And then they're like, yeah, you're right.
We even have changed the music in our exam rooms, in our dog exam rooms, from the very calming classical music to reggae.
Mm-hmm.
Because we also, studies have shown that one has been really, really beneficial. It's a little bit more upbeat, and I think they like the beats.
They like the beats. We thought it might drown out some things more. They might actually hear it instead of them just tuning it out like they do with calming classical. And we're not necessarily asking them to be asleep. It's not surgery. We just want them to be chill.
Right.
And what's chiller than reggae?
Probably classical music, but we're going to give reggae a try.
Chill in a different way, maybe.
Okay. And then, the last probably thing for this one that we're thinking about is we love our exam rooms. Our exam rooms were made very intentionally. They're a little bit different, specifically for pet stress. The rooms look different. They might remember something in one room, but not the other. We have our private suite that is very comfortable. The lights can go out. There's a lamp. There's a couch. There's a TV. There's chargers. You can deliver lunch. It doesn't matter. It's more comfortable. And we do have clients that end up spending many hours in one of the other exam rooms that maybe aren't quite as comfortable. So we've been contemplating how can we make those more comfortable. Do we need TV and lamps in all of the rooms? Maybe.
Because we had some great feedback yesterday from a client who was, again, delivering it in a super positive way. She has a high FAS dog, and he had to come 2 days in a row for continued care.
Mm-hmm.
And the first day, someone was in our private suite, so she ended up in one of the exam rooms for about an hour or two. And the next day, she had to stay all day, and so we made sure she got the private suite.
So when we had him in room 3 the first day, it's not as comfortable, but because he was sleeping on the mat on the floor when he was sedated, Mom just put a blanket on the floor and was sitting on the floor up against the cabinet, which is fine.
Yeah, she was fine with
She was there
this.
for a couple hours. She was able to participate in his care. She held him even though he was mostly sedated while we did his things. It was great. It was fine. It was very, it wasn't super comfortable, but she got to be with him and participate, and so she was really happy about that.
And then the next day, we made sure she got the private suite, and they were in there all day, and he had a little bit of sedation at first for some diagnostics, but then woke up, and they stayed together all day. They watched TV, they laid on the couch, the lights went off, they napped together, and she was talking about how much better his FAS was that day, and he didn't even need to be kept sedated all day. We kept him calm, but he didn't need full-on sedation all day because they just relaxed in there while his fluids ran, and it was very much more like home. We've had some other successes in that room just because it does feel like home with the TV on and the couch and their owner there. They're like, oh.
And I know you often ask clients to tell you a story.
Yes.
Let's
that
pretend like we're at home.
That kind of goes along with the being creepy. Even if we're not being creepy, don't all just focus on what you're doing. Just start telling me about something stupid you watched on Netflix.
Show. Exactly.
Tell me about the poop cruise on Netflix. Have you seen it? Then they usually laugh and what? And then the vaccine's in because we're not thinking about it.
And that just inadvertently takes the pressure off the dog.
It takes the pressure off the dog. It takes the pressure off the clients. Like, we had a client who had to give an injection and in the room with us, and she loves Taylor Swift and I love Taylor Swift, and so we sang a Taylor Swift song together because she was nervous about the needle and we didn't want her dog to feel that. So there's lots of things we can do to take the pressure off, and we need to lean more into that. Ways we can take the pressure off. But I think that our little friend yesterday didn't really think he was at the vet, and he got a whole day of fluids and a whole day of rest that he couldn't have gotten it that way somewhere else.
So we're going to continue to think a lot about these barriers. We're really trying to ask even more questions to clients. And like we said before, ask them differently, ask different questions, and hopefully we can get some feedback. If you're listening to this and some things come to mind, or you've had an experience somewhere, or you have some thoughts for us as a pet parent or a veterinary professional,
even if you're not our client. Absolutely. Yeah, even if you're not our client, please.
We're hoping these podcasts are far reaching.
We hope so.
So, but let us know in the comments. So, again, we're hoping that this podcast reaches far and wide to pet parents and veterinary professionals alike. If you are unsure how your clinic would stand up to Fear Free, or wondering if your clinic can provide an experience like this, head on over to our YouTube and download our Fear Free practice benchmark. The idea behind that is you take that to your clinic on your next visit and see if you answer yes to these questions, or fill it out when you get home. And if you don't answer yes to these questions, have a conversation with your vet clinic. And if your vet clinic can't make some adjustments, even just for your pet's visit, then it might be time to find a fear-free clinic. When you download this, you also will be subscribed to an email list where you'll receive a series of emails from us specifically talking about the very basics of fear-free, going into some more experienced stuff. And if you're in our area and you need some help how to advocate for your pet at your vet, let us know. But also, we're here in Spokane, Washington to be your vet.
Well, that's it for this month, huh, Jessica?
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in. And to learn more about Fear Free and what we're doing here and how you can advocate for your pet no matter where you are, you can find us on pretty much all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, here on YouTube, and TikTok at Latah Creek AH.
Yep.
And of course, don't forget to put your little pause on that like button and subscribe button for our YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Bye.
Bye.